Hello, I'm Bernard Hickey from interest.co.nz and welcome to a special housing report brought to you in association with the BNZ. Today we look at figures out from Barfoot and Thompson on house sales in the Auckland region. Barfoot and Thompson is by far the biggest real estate group around Auckland, and their numbers are interesting because they're the first to tell us what's happening in the last 3 to 4 weeks in the housing market. Their figures out for Auckland show the number of houses sold fell between 20 and 30%, and that average prices fell by 1%. Peter Thompson from Barfoot and Thompson says this is because we're heading into winter, and April's always a slower month than for March. He also says some buyers are holding off because they're worried what might come up in the budget. Now those reasons are legitimate for a couple of areas. Firstly, in the budget we could see some significant changes around taxation of property investing. The government could, and we don't know yet, could ring-fence losses from property investments. This is where people make losses on their rental properties and then claim them against their personal incomes. There could also be changes to the way people use LAQCs, loss attributing qualifying companies, which allows them to claim against their income, their personal income. We could also see the government change the way depreciation for buildings is counted for in property investments, which means you can't claim it as a depreciable item. That may be holding back some people. But there is a basic problem here in the New Zealand housing market, particularly in Auckland, which is pretty much its most expensive, apart from Queenstown. It now costs between 8.5 and 9 times take-home pay to afford a median house in the Auckland market, in fact, much of New Zealand. It's actually around about 6 to 7 times household before tax income. It's much higher than the rest of the world, about double what we're seeing in the likes of the UK and the US, although it is in line with what we're seeing in Sydney and Melbourne. My personal view is that the housing market remains horribly overvalued, that for most New Zealanders they don't have the income, frankly, to sustainably afford to buy these houses for whatever reason. There's obviously a lot of demand coming through from migrants, or at least net migration, fewer people leaving. And of course we haven't built that many houses, particularly around Auckland, where land supply has been limited by council regulation. But the basic problem is, and this is I think why house prices are not rising and may actually fall significantly over the next couple of years, they're simply unaffordable. They're pumped up by credit, and we don't have the underlying demand or the ability to pay to sustain these sorts of prices. So although the budget and the weather may be a factor, I don't think it's the long-term reason why house prices are falling, or at least not rising. Anyway, we'll find out more from the budget. We'll be covering that in depth on May the 20th. For now, the housing market remains in this stasis, a bit of a Mexican standoff. As the buyers wait for the budget, the sellers try to get out, and not too many houses get sold. I'm Bernard Hickey. That was a special housing report brought to you in association with the BNZ.